Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. If you are listening to this podcast fresh on release day, happy heat wave from me because I'm actually coming at you from the past today. I am recording during that June scorcher. You might now be remembering oh so fondly if you're in the UK, or not so fondly, depending on what's happened since. I don't know. Did it rain for a week straight? Are you back in your coats? Or is it still hotter than Satan's kitchen? Either way, I hope you're all good. I hope you managed to keep your dogs suitably cool and relaxed. We are currently all hiding out in the living room with the curtains closed. I'm sure I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but this really is the coolest room in my house by a country mile. I live in a really old, cranky Victorian house, which means it does have its downsides in the winter, but you can easily escape the heat in the summer if you know when to shut the right curtains and doors and rotate around the house and follow the sun, blocking it out. I've also hunkered down at my desk with a cold lemonade, which is bringing some strong summer vibes, but I found a brain hack. I have put on the fairy lights around my desk and I have lit a candle because I thought if I could fool my subconscious mind into thinking it's winter, maybe that would cool me down a degree or two more. I don't know. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the heat wave. We are here to talk about you this week and your dog, and specifically today, the way your body talks to your dog long before you say a word. Because this week, I want to explore the secret language of movement. That is how your physical presence and the way you move sends signals to your dog that literally shape their behavior, affect their emotional state, and the entire way they experience the world. So, okay, let's just get straight in. Let's start with the headline hook, which is before you say a word, your dog has already made a decision. And I want you to really let that sink in before you even open your mouth, before the cue, before the treat pouch even rustles. Your dog has already read your posture, the direction you're facing, the pressure in the air between you, and they have made some kind of internal assessment about what might be about to happen. And that assessment they've made directly affects how much attention they pay to you, how ready they are to respond, how safe they feel, and how motivated they are. Because our dogs are masters, the ultimate masters of reading physical cues, not because they're mystical or psychic, but because in evolutionary terms, their survival has literally depended on it. They are social animals. They are very much social animals. And that's why we work so well together, right? And social animals read social signals. And in your case, that means your dog is watching the angle of your shoulders, the softness or the tension in your hands, how close you are to them, whether you are looming over them or you are inviting them with your presence, whether your walk is fast and stiff or slow and bouncy. And they're doing this because that is how they read each other. Dogs are a highly body oriented species. And like us, who we rely heavily on verbal language to convey meaning, don't we? Well, dogs communicate predominantly through posture, movement, facial expression, and energy. While we might just explain our emotions with a long monologue, a dog will simply kind of shift their weight, avert their gaze, raise their hackles, or do a subtle lip lick. And another dog will immediately understand what's going on. It's an entire visual language built on nuance, timing, and context. Just think of a play bow, right? The front legs stretched forward, the bum up in the air. That's an open invitation to engage. A tail held high and wagging stiffly might look cheerful to us, but to another dog, that might signal arousal or even potential conflict. A freeze, just a half second of tension in a dog's body, can communicate a boundary more clearly than any bark. In fact, studies in canine ethology show that dogs are capable of reading incredibly subtle shifts in body language, even tiny little micro movements that you just wouldn't even consider as a human. And they do it faster than we can process verbal speech, where we need time to hear and to decode and then to consider our response and to respond. Dogs see and feel the social dynamic shift literally in real time. So when your dog is watching you, they are applying the same social decoding system they use with other dogs. They're not waiting for instructions. They are responding to your whole presence, from your weight distribution to your eye contact to whether you're leaning in or you're leaning out. Your body to them is a language they already speak fluently. The question is whether we humans are aware enough of the messages we're sending. And so this brings me to a concept I want to dig into with you today: pressure and proximity. In dog training, we often talk about pressure, but not the kind of pressure that's about forcing or punishment. I'm talking about spatial pressure, not physical pressure, social pressure. The energy in the space between two beings. Think about how it feels, right? When someone is standing just that little bit awkwardly too close to you in a queue, or when someone walks towards you really quickly and you just instinctively take a step backward, don't you? That is spatial pressure. Dogs are extremely sensitive to this. So if you lean in a certain way, you might accidentally push your dog away. You might accidentally shut them down or apply pressure that makes them uncomfortable. On the flip side, when you move softly with real openness and conscious invitation, it is possible for you to create a draw towards you. You can become magnetic. You can become reinforcing without a single treat in sight. Now, here's where things get interesting, okay? Because what is it that determines whether your dog moves away from pressure or is drawn in? What is that? What drives their desire to be close to you, to follow your lead, to engage? Well, I've talked about it before on the podcast. We're going to talk about it again. It's good old dopamine. So, if you did not listen to my previous episode, which really dove into dopamine, let's do it again. What is dopamine? How does dopamine work? Well, it's often called the pleasure chemical, but that is actually a bit of a simplification. More accurately, it's a neurotransmitter involved in motivation, attention, learning, and reinforcement. But it doesn't just flood your dog's brain when they get a reward. It actually spikes in anticipation of something good. It's more about expectation, it's about prediction. So, in other words, dopamine is what helps your dog track where the good stuff comes from. So, imagine your dog sees you pick up their food bowl. Dopamine surges. Why does dopamine surge? Not because they are eating yet, not because there's any food in the bowl, but because the brain has learned that the bowl, or the act of you picking up that bowl, predicts something amazing. That surge of dopamine, then, it sharpens their focus, it primes their brain to learn, and it prepares them for some kind of engagement with that thing. So when we train dogs using cues and rewards, we're not just teaching behaviors, we are literally rewiring their brain's prediction pathways. Every time something good happens and your dog can trace that good thing back to something you did, a cue you gave, a movement you made, a tone of your voice, dopamine helps them to encode that pattern. Now, right, let me say that again because it's really important, okay? Dopamine helps your dog to track where the value lies. So if you want to be the most magnetic, reinforcing, motivating presence in your dog's life, which I'm sure most of us do, Dopamine is your secret weapon. So, okay, that's all very well and sciencey, but how can we take practical advice from this? How can you take this knowledge and apply it to just everyday real life with your dog? So, let's pull out some actionable takeaways for you. Okay, number one, be predictably good. And that is just as simple as it sounds because not everything has to be complicated. Let your presence become a predictor of good things, not chaotic things, not inconsistencies, not pressure, but reliable, reinforcing, engaging experiences. If every time you appear, something delightful might happen, your dog's dopamine system lights up. And this could be something as silly and simple as tossing a treat behind them and then running away to cue a chase game. Make yourself a source of unpredictable reinforcement within a predictable pattern, and your dog will learn to just fall in love with your presence. Number two, work with anticipation, not just outcome. So remember, this is really important, okay? Dopamine spikes in anticipation of reward, not just the delivery of the reward. So rather than just handing over the treat as fast as you can, let there be a moment of really tasty expectation. Let your dog see the treat or they hear the marker, and then just build that little moment of joyful, anticipatory tension. And you can do this by, you can, like I said there, use a consistent marker word or a clicker. So you are telling the dog the reward is imminent. You are building that expectation, and build in any other kind of mini routines around reinforcement so your dog can just anticipate and savor that little micro moment. Maybe you get the treat out, you just pause for a split second and then you throw it. Literally anything that entwines anticipation with that treat delivery is working for you, not against you here. Number three, use your body with purpose. So we're going back to the whole body language thing again, and I want you to bring your awareness to it. So remember what I said about pressure and proximity. If you rush in with this treat or you loom over your dog, you might inadvertently apply that social pressure that just dampens the dopamine response. Instead of doing that, move in ways that feel playful, like a little bit bouncy, a little bit light and cooperative. So you could try training from a seated position. You know, this is something that a lot of us never even consider. We're always standing up when we're training our dogs. We're always standing over the top of our dogs. Try training sitting down. See how that changes things for you. You could experiment with lateral movement, which is side to side rather than forward movement back and forth when approaching your dog, especially if your dog is particularly nervy or jumpy or a little bit sensitive. And we all know when we have a dog like that. In these cases, you could focus on using gestures that invite rather than demand. So open yourself up to being approached rather than chasing your dog down. There's a really good game for this in my 21 days of engagement training pack. It's called the activation game, and it's basically about letting your dog ask you to train and building the value in them asking you, hey, can we train now? Can we do that thing that's really cool? As opposed to us approaching the dog that is maybe sleeping or chilling or busy or distracted or whatever, and us having to nag them to train and having to nag them to engage. We can flip the switch with just a few subtle changes, and we can actually get them to be the ones who value engaging with us so much that they come and ask for it. And once you have a dog who is actually asking you if it's okay, if maybe you could ask them to do a behavior, or maybe you could deign to teach them something new, if that would be okay, please and thank you. I mean, you're winning at life, aren't you? A dog who wants to work is the best dog to be around, and a dog that isn't going to give you any problems, is not going to run off on walks, is not going to be distracted at the window, is not going to want to go off and chew your shoes instead of engage with you, because you are the most valuable choice to them. You don't need to nag them to think that. You don't need to chase them down. You don't need to convince them. They've learnt that themselves, and it's a game changer. Okay, so to bring all of this together for you now, here's what you need to remember. When you combine an awareness, I just want you to bring your awareness to it of your physical communication with an understanding of how dopamine shapes your dog's internal world, you will unlock something really powerful. You become a source of safety, a source of clarity, and a source of joy for your dog. So next time you're training, or next time you're just walking your dog, or even you're just sitting, chilling together in the garden, or you're on the sofa together watching TV, just take a moment to bring your awareness to what's going on. Ask yourself, what is my body, what is my physical body saying right now? Am I drawing my dog in, or could I be pushing them away? Am I predictable in my goodness, in my value, in what I'm bringing to the table here? Am I allowing anticipation to build here? And remember, you don't need to be perfect. You won't be perfect. You just need to be aware, and you just need to try to be a little bit more intentional. And remember this, dopamine isn't about just being a walking vending machine. It's about creating a world where your dog can say with their whole body, you are where the good things come from. You are where it is safe. You are my best bet when it comes to anticipating where the next good thing is going to come from in my day. So I hope that all made sense. I hope you have found at least some of it useful. And I hope there's a takeaway or two that you can just slice straight out of today's podcast and insert into your life and see how it changes things for the better between you and your dog. As always, thank you so much for joining me this week. If you did enjoy this episode, I would love it so much if you could share it with a dog-loving friend, or even just leave a review on the podcast app itself. It helps more people find the show, and it just helps me have more people to talk all things dog to, because Lord knows nobody in my real life lets me, do they? Nobody's interested in dogs. Very sad times indeed. Oh, and a quick reminder before I go, my 21-day engagement training course, which I think I did mention earlier, it is live on the website at listendogtraining.com, and it is absolutely perfect if you want to build a stronger bond, get more focus, and totally supercharge your training relationship with your dog. It's completely self-paced. It says 21 days, but you have lifetime access. It's packed with daily video tutorials and a supporting PDF pack you get as well. And as if that wasn't enough, podcast listeners, you lovely lot, can also use the code podcast10 for an extra 10% off at the checkout. Right, that truly is all from me today. Enjoy the rest of your dog walk, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week for another episode of The Walk and Talk.